Welcome to DT Madness, Chronicles from the Third Life, episode 127, May 4th, 2025. So glad you could make it. Welcome to the third life. Somewhere between the life we plan and the life we survive is a space I call the third life. It's not the life you dream of as a kid, nor the one society tries to map out for you. It's the life you build from the ruins, the madness, the missteps, the miracles. DT Madness was born from that space. Not as a clean story with a neat beginning, middle, and end, but as a series of moments. Sometimes chaotic, sometimes clear, stitched together by reflection, rawness, and realness. I never set out to create a perfect record of my experiences. What you'll find here are chronicles, flashes of memory, lessons learned the hard way, and thoughts too persistent to ignore. They're episodes of struggle, bursts of creativity, waves of emotion, and the moments of stillness in between, when the dust finally settles and you can see yourself more clearly. The madness isn't a sign of being broken. It's the proof that you're still trying, still finding new ways to survive, to love, to dream, to fall apart and to rebuild. It's the cost of caring too much, feeling too deeply, hoping too stubbornly. Chronicles from the Third Life isn't about being a hero or a victim. It's about being honest, about standing in the middle of your mess and choosing to tell the story anyway. It's about honoring the madness as part of the music, the melody, the rhythm that keeps you moving when the world tells you to sit still. As you move through these chapters, you won't find a straight path or easy answers. Instead, I hope you find something more valuable, a reflection of your own resilience, a reminder that you're not alone in your confusion, your contradictions, or your quiet victories, a reason to keep creating your own third life, even when the first two didn't go as planned. So welcome to the madness, welcome to the music, welcome to the journey. Let's begin. Oh man, I'm going to put a little bit more music on that. So thank you to Chat GPT for providing that intro. I asked Chat to create an outline based off of the podcast DT Madness, and then it did so, which was pretty cool. And then it asked if it, did I want it to create a manuscript, and so I just wanted to try that out. And that was pretty good. Now I understand why students just use that. It's better than what most of them can do. But I digress. I will not say May the 4th be with you, because I don't like to make fun of people with lisps. I almost bought a lavender tree. They have them at Hannah's coffee shop, or did have them. She told me that they were rare and they didn't come in very often, and so I better get one. But it was $42. I like the smell of lavender, and recently I read that lavender can help keep flies away. And man, I've got like 30 trillion flies that fly around on our gardenia bushes right off our front porch. But I didn't buy the lavender tree. Sydney's working at Hannah's now. She's my new favorite barista. But I held strong and didn't buy the lavender tree, although I'm getting ready to go back over there, so we'll see. Maybe the urge will get me this time. I lost my Wordle streak. I did. I'm going for 220. 220 is my max. I got to 148, and then the word was patch, and I had atch early, but come on, there's match, there's batch, there's hatch, there's latch. There's watch, so many. And I tried all those, but patch was it. So I lost my streak on that one. Pretty sad. And then I lost it again after 4 more. The word was known. And that was too bad, but I've charted it out, and if I can get to 220, then Thanksgiving 2025 I will break my old streak. So I know you're hoping for me. It was the same feeling. Like I had the same feeling of when let me back up. I talked a couple weeks ago, and sorry for missing last week, but had the things going on and wasn't quite ready to publish all the things going on, and but we talked about the tree, and my oak tree is in distress. I haven't been able to get in touch with my guy, and so I reached out to a different tree company to come and do some inspections. Like there's obvious signs of distress and decline, and can we save the tree, and all these kinds of things. And so there was this tiny little fledgling oak tree, I don't know, 3 feet high, growing in and around one of our azalea bushes that are in between our 2 oaks. And I didn't say anything about it. It was just in my mind, and Sarah got rid of it. She took the oak trees out to protect the gardenia. I mean the azaleas, which would make sense. I mean, you want the azaleas to flourish. You don't need oak trees growing up and swallowing them. But I had already kind of taken to this little guy because I knew the possibility of cutting down our giant oak tree. Probably, I don't know, 80, 100 years old tree. I knew that this new guy would be the one to take his place. That's kind of the way that I saw it. And so when it was gone, after she had removed it, I told it was the same feeling, the same like, oh, that I got when I lost my streak on Wordle. The 4 streak, not the 148 streak. 148 streak was way worse. We've gotten through prom. Prom happened a couple of weekends ago. It was too bad. The kids got kind of sick as a result of it. I guess there was some sharing going on. But prom was good. Sydney got all dressed up in her purple favorite. She had on a beautiful purple dress, and whatever, anything she wears she makes that way. But she and her friends all had a big time, and getting ready and doing all their things. They're not cliche. They're not bound by conventions. They, some of them went and got Bojangles, and then they went over and went to a person's house and all this kind of stuff. Like, they had a good time. Isaac was roped into going, but then he ended up having a great time. He actually stayed longer than Sydney did and started busting out some of his moves. And we watched him get ready and took pictures and all that kind of stuff. And then we took up off the mountain. My mom and Sarah and I went up to see Sam and Voicemail sing in their final concert of the year. And man, Sam, he laid it down. Like, he sings with emotion always, and this night was no different. So he sang Lonely, and then he had to sing one off the cuff for this little game they were playing. And he dropped a couple bars from Isabel's Cover Me Up. That was good stuff, man. Sydney has been raking in the scholarships. She earned 2 this past week, totaling, one was for $1,000 and the other one was a big one for $15,000. And so getting really close to her first year at Furman being paid for. And no disrespect to athletic scholarships and all that kind of stuff, but these are all merit-based academic scholarships. I mean, she's earned these, and anyway, tennis is done, and it's been a crazy couple of weeks. That's partly why I had to miss last week. But our team had a great regular season, and we did qualify for the team tournament called the Dual Team Tournament, and so we ended up playing a team, North Lincoln, And it was an even matchup. It was an even matchup, but the problem is as I mentioned, the sickness came from the prom, and so Isaac had it bad, man. He had it real bad, and there was no way he could play. He couldn't really eat. I mean, he had the sore throat and the chills and the all that kind of stuff, but he just couldn't eat much either, and I wasn't going to put him out there. He wouldn't have been effective anyway, and so because of that, we had to move. He's the number one, so we had to move everybody up. And I wasn't sure what to do because there's a 50% rule, and can he play in postseason and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm walking around, I'm stressed, and I'm trying to work it out with the guys, and I'm trying to reassure the guys, and how's it going to work. And I just walked out onto the court. I walked out onto the court, and it's common for people to want to reach out to someone that has passed, and that was where I was at. I wanted to call my dad and ask him what to do, or otherwise he would have been there. So I just kind of imaginary texted him and walked out onto the court and kind of asked him, all right, what do I do here? And he's like, sometimes that's just how the old ball bounces. And it made me feel better. It did. So we got it all situated. I told the guys, Isaac would be here, but but he's super sick, and we could take that as an excuse to not play well, or we could use it as motivation. I gave him the good coach speech. And our phrase all year long is Chargers, baby. We run deep. And I told him, let's make that true. And it did. We went down to the wire. We ended up losing 4-5, but we went down to the wire, and that was great. And then this past weekend, I guess just Friday, I drove them up to Hickory to play in the individual regionals. And two of our teams got pretty bad draws. Not bad draws. I mean, they just got draws that they had to play really good players first. And so they took the L, and Isaac and his partner Carter, my one doubles team, they played. That was the first time Isaac had played in probably 9 days. Still coughing still coughing a lot and struggling to move much, but doubles works out pretty good for that. And they lost 6-2 in the first set, and they were down 3-0 in the second set and battled back. Ended up winning 6-4 in the second set, so won 6 out of the next 7 games to win 6-4. Then they got down again in the third set. They play a full third set, and they got down 3-0 and brought it back again to force a third set tiebreaker at 6-6, and they have to play to 7, and they ended up losing 7-2. But man, I was really proud of them, and it's just a great group of guys. Now I got to get ready for their banquet, and but there are 5 sophomores and a freshman on the team, and that played, so they're all motivated to get ready for next season. So pretty stoked. That's a good word. I did think about, and this begins to get a little bit heavier, and then it's going to get even more so than that, I guess, is the tendency here for how I structure the podcast. Start off with something kind of dumb like lavender bushes, and then delve deep into the meaning of my life and my existence, and then ended up with my pear-shaped face, or something like that. A little foreshadowing. But I've been thinking about grievance and how so many people have one. And of course, like, our entire political class is all about that, I can't be mad at the kids because that's what's modeled to them on media all over the place. Certainly our current president and the administration has thrived on grievance and victimhood. But the more and more I think about it, the more I see it everywhere. Like, you could do it right now. You could do it right now. Like, if somebody were to cut you off, or somebody did something that you thought was stupid, and you kind of throw your hands up, and you're like, what the heck, man? Like, that whole movement. If you'll do it, then you'll feel it. I know you know what feeling I'm talking about. And if you begin to watch other people, and if you begin to think about yourself, maybe, how often do you make those sighs? How often do you wish that somebody would have just done it the right way And oh man, if they would just do it the right way, like I will always do it. Oh, throw your hands up. Man, grievances everywhere. And that's something. There's a I don't have it called up. Maybe I'll think about grievance more for next week and begin to wrestle with what it means for us and how could we get past it. But I read a nice Richard Rohr reflection. It's on my Instagram story for the 3 or 4 of you that follow along. But the heart of what episode 127 is about is continuing really to find myself. I always think that's, it's a funny phrase, like I'm going to take a year off and find myself, and people say that, and then that's kind of laughed at and all that. But like, I guess it's always what we're doing, although I don't know what it's like for you. I don't know whether you feel fragmented or whether you feel whole, or if you even think about it. This was kind of spurred on from a message that I got a couple of weeks ago, where a person had mentioned that I was stronger. The quote was, "You're stronger than I am," and I'm just like, what does that mean? And what is strength anyway? And I don't know how someone would know that I'm stronger. Maybe because I'm fairly positive on my social media posts. Maybe because I create this public persona in places, in large part because that's mayor life. I try to only use inspirational stuff for the most part. Maybe that's the perception of strength. But it's interesting because not too many people would know what type of strength or how strong I am. How could you? I don't do a whole lot of letting people know who I am anyway. I started typing these things down. Did you see the fragments, the whole? Were the pieces enough? Was I not who you thought? And so I did some writing. And this is one of those things where I didn't record last week because I didn't know if I wanted to share this part or not. But then, if not, then what's the point of DT Madness? I've wrestled as much as I can with the early years. Maybe as much as I need to. I still linger sometimes on a precise timeline. I think maybe 1st or 2nd grade. And there are nagging reminders. But my hope is that in time, those reminders will invoke the hope and victory of overcoming. That's my hope, and I can see it. It's the late 90s that I contend with currently. As I write, I do wonder what the coping strategies were in my middle school years. Maybe I had all the middle school things going on, and so that was distraction enough. But when I discovered and gained access, way too easy access, to alcohol and drugs, the numbing effects were too good to resist. I'll spare you the details of all that I got into, but suffice to say that I just wanted you to give it to me and let it take me. It wasn't all in desperation. I don't want to paint that picture, but it was an escape. And I longed to be there in that escape rather than anywhere. The time, these late 90s, that time was marked by a descent, madness, finding ways to tear my body down, seeking the escape of oblivion and sparring with my old friend shame afterwards. I failed, fell flat on my face, literally and metaphorically. Davidson College was a dream of mine ever since my brother went there. I still love the campus and the culture. the challenge of excellence. Academically, I was capable. Why the whole thing fell apart, I can only surmise. But it fell apart. Coming back to Gardner-Webb was easy. It was an easy fix. It wasn't challenging academically, save for a few professors, Henderson, Partain, Yelton. And it was home turf. I used my charm, my good looks, my intellect, along with my understanding of church group type culture to wade into a mix of good people. It really was good. And I took leadership roles, though to be completely honest, I can only assume that that was true. Those days are largely missing from my recollection. I know of some of the people, know of the disintegrated relationships, but I don't recall the events. 1997, 98, where are you? That summer after my first year at Gardner-Webb was monumental. This was the summer trip out west with Amy. Yeah, with an E. Reflective. Zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance style. Grandeur. Accomplishment. Kindred spirits. My sophomore year at Gardner-Webb was fall of 1998. This time marks a break, a rigid, jagged, abrupt break. Disparate worlds collided, and the comforts I had known won the day. Flight, survival. Those things were the same to me. Thus I re-entered the spiral of oblivion, failing classes due mostly to lack of adherence to the attendance rules, using and abusing substances, skirting the law with thanks to my whiteness and relatives for avoiding real trouble, using other people for my own pleasure and need to be desired. I saw her in Miss Bell's intro to art class, sat behind her or maybe off to the side, but I dropped that one. Can't remember why, too much work probably. Took music instead. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a Mozart, shoot it down, shoot it down, shoot it down. That's what I remember from that one. And on it went. Nothing redemptive from this time jumps off the page at me. Oblivion. And then the spring of 1999, philosophy with Dr. David Carskadden. There were 9 of us, if I remember correctly, and we'd sit in a circle and discuss the things. More importantly, we developed a study group that met in Strap Hall lobby. That morphed into Waffle House trips and the Trooper and sleeping bags lent. The progression of this story is known, cherished. The flight response reared its head, of course. Following Big Cypress and Y2K, I was melting. What is that feeling? Melting isn't quite it. Disintegrating, maybe. How do I describe when various parts of me would seek escape? How do I describe the urge to no longer be seen? The fear of being discovered or being captured? Maybe it is melting. And perhaps the next step is to consider more deeply the occurrence of Cheesecake and the Naked Hill. Naked Hill. How did it turn? Was it me? Or her? Or Ja? How did we make it through that fire? That melting cauldron? This Chautauqua, if you will, however, is about what she saw. Who do people say that I am? That 21-year-old was fragmented, desperate to be seen in whole, not by someone else. He was desperate to see himself fully. Could you see me? Even when I couldn't? How does it work? Were the pieces enough? To risk displaying my conceit too proudly, I admit that I know the pieces were plenty. The charm and the humor and the wit, the intellect and boyish good looks. The ability to thrive in a variety of social situations. Yeah, I had it like that. And I'd used those deflections successfully my whole life. But what about in the cauldron? What kept you there? Why did you risk your own destruction? Am I being too dramatic? You saw my being, perhaps. Did you also see my becoming? You saw it with eyes of forgiveness and wonder, nurturing without attempting to tame or translate. I know that I'm not supposed to change the words of the Bible, and I know that when Jesus asks, who do you say that I am, or who do they say that I am, I know that where that leads is, Peter or whoever says you're the Messiah, and Jesus is like, that's right, you're blessed and such as that. But I just wonder, man, like, I bet he really was asking. Because if he's the great high priest and he's been through all the things that I've been through, then I bet he wrestled with identity too. And it becomes too easy for us to just attach the titles, after the fact. Who do you say that I am? I don't know. Maybe he knew. I bet he didn't. I bet he wrestled with it. I know I do. And that uncertainty for me of who do you say that I am, the uncertainty that I have, the delusions and illusions, the longing, I think that's got to be a huge part of why I need you to tell me who I am so much. My need for affirmation. And I'm working to get past it. I'm trying to think about the favorite things from late high school, Davidson, early Gardner Webb years. I don't want to just dwell on the fact that was a dark time, though it was. Like, I know that there was good stuff happening. I was pledge class president of Sigma Phi Epsilon at Davidson. Obviously the 9-6 rolled to the end of Crest High School with gusto. The early Gardner Webb years, I don't know, man. I made some good friends. My roommate chill, if nothing else. So I'm trying to work on that and trying to recapture the other parts, because I know that it become really easy to dwell on the darkness. I don't want to stay there. And if nothing else, then I'll dwell on the fact that all my mistakes led me to you, led me here. As the Avett Brothers sing. I gave a speech to I bought a new shirt. I'd given my one to Sam. It was green that says Yawp on it. And so I bought a new one, and it's purple. And I got extra large this time because I didn't want to be delusional. Although the no ice cream diet, I've only had it once in like a week or so. Down almost 3 pounds. Still working, still rolling. Got it going, feeling good. But I got that shirt and I wore it to school. And of course, as expected, the kids asked me about it. So I try to tell my third period, like, they don't much care about learning. I mean, they don't much care about school learning, They don't. And so I try to tell them, look, here's civics, and here's what we want. Here's what we want is a productive citizen. Here are your rights, and we want you to know your rights, but also we want you to know your duties and your responsibilities. And what does it mean to be a productive citizen? And these are the things that we want to teach you. This is what society has asked the public schools and education in general to teach you, so that when you get into adult life, you are productive economically and in all the ways, and I tell them all that kind of stuff. And yes, I think all that stuff is good and true, and it works for a functioning society. But also, in my class, I'm going to teach you to yawp. Whitman says, I sound my barbaric yawp over the rooftops of the world, and I want you to understand that you have your voice. I don't want your voice to be limited. I like the spirit that you have when you find inconsistencies, when you find injustices in the way that I operate even. I want you to call me out on that. This is the way that it should work. I want you to do it in a respectful tone and things like that when necessary. But I gave them the speech. Of course, they took it and did some different types of yawps and all that kind of stuff. And It'll land with some of them. But yeah. Whitman says in Song of Myself 52, the spotted hawk swoops by and accuses me. He complains of my gab and my loitering. I too am not a bit tamed. I too am untranslatable. I sound my barbaric yawp over the rooftops of the world. The last scud of day holds back for me. It flings my likeness after the rest, and true as any on the shadowed wilds. It coaxes me to the vapor and the dusk. I depart as air. I shake my white locks at the runaway sun. I effuse my flesh in eddies and drift it in lacy jags. I bequeath myself to the dirt, to grow from the grass I love. If you want me again, look for me under your boot soles. You will hardly know who I am or what I mean, but I shall be good health to you nevertheless, and filter and fiber your blood. Failing to fetch me at first, keep encouraged. Missing me one place, search another. I stop somewhere, waiting for you. I'd always focused on the untranslatable and untamable and sounding my barbaric yawp, but that last stanza, failing to fetch me at first, keep encouraged. Missing me one place, search another. I stop somewhere, waiting for you. If you fail, keep searching. I'm here. I'm here. And maybe I'm not saying that to you, but maybe I'm saying that to me. I read The Raven Scholar. Actually, I finished Nexus, which was really fascinating about AI and all that kind of stuff. Definitely worth a read. I read The Raven Scholar. The Google algorithm got me on that one. It was a really, really good story. Really good, like fantasy type story. To me, better than Hunger Games and better than... It gives Hunger Games and Potter in the first 200 pages, but it's way better than that stuff for me. I'm not a fan, really, of those two. Sorry. It doesn't get to the level of Tolkien, for sure, or Erickson by any stretch. It doesn't get to the level of Rothfuss, even. It's kind of like Sanderson, if you understand any of these words I'm saying. But it's a really great story, and it's the first in a trilogy, and the next one's due out, I don't know when. I've got the next Frederick Backman book ready. It's coming. I pre-ordered it, so it should be here on Tuesday. I can't remember what it's called, like Friends or something like that. Friends of something. But he wrote a man called Ova, and he wrote the Beartown. I read all his. It's so good. I love Backman. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about the fact that it's it's almost summertime. Like, I can see the light. Tennis is over. AP exam week is coming up. We got 1 month. Graduation's happening. Like, this stuff's going down. And so I'm excited about time to read and plan, and I'm tired. I'm excited to reflect on my practice and think about what I can do better next year with 45 or 50 kids in one AP government class, and how am I going to retool AP seminar and all these types of things. How I'm going to attack the classes that don't really care very much. Like, what am I going to do better? How am I going to deal with AI and chat and cheating and borrowing, but also teaching how to use those kinds of things. I had a great back and forth conversation. It's so easy to post something on Instagram, and then it's like, yes, this is the way that it is. And I love it when people push back. And my friend Reagan was like, yeah, I don't know about these cell phones bans and all this kind of stuff. And so we had a great conversation about the role of technology and the role of AI in education in particular. And I love considering perspectives other than my own. So I appreciate y'all. I had some kids ask me, man, they were talking about, I don't know, they were talking about front porches and having a rocking chair, and somebody was making fun of somebody for having a rocking chair, and they're like, man, I love to sit in a rocking chair. And they're like, Mr. Thomas, do you rock? And I was like, more than you know. And so yeah, I'm thinking about Fish Tour. I'm going to Austin, going to Charleston. I definitely mapped out the route to New Hampshire. just in case I wanted to drive up there for the tour opener coming up, or the tour closer in New York. Probably not going to make either one of those, but it's always fun to dream. Today I got to go and write on a bunch of spoons, leave no crumb, 45 of them, because Tuesday is AP Government, and I got to write them up a little thing and a little bit of encouragement and tell them to eat, all this kind of stuff. I had a great conversation with the Gardner Webb students about the future of the school. I'll save this. This is a little bit more than an ending here, but Gardner Webb's in some financial trouble. Limestone closed. St. Andrews closed. What is it going to mean for them? How can we work together as town and college, as mayor and student body president and college president, and all these types of things? So I'm excited about where we're going to move forward. I will tell you that I had this woodpecker, just hammering away on my gutter right outside my bedroom window yesterday morning, and I got really mad at it. And I came over here to the window, and I opened up the window, and I was like, hey, man, what are you doing? And it did it some more. But then I looked it up just to see what was going on with it and why it was doing that. Turns out he's hollering at his ladies. He is telling them how good he is at being a woodpecker. And that loud sound attracts them. So I can't be mad. I can't be mad at my guy. I still hate my glasses, and I am trying to, I'm trying to figure out some new ones, some ones that don't get smudgy. There's some lenses on Zenni Optical that don't get smudgy, allegedly. But what kind of shape do I need and all this kind of stuff? And I did this AI, speaking of AI, and I said, what kind of shape face do I have? And I said I had a pear-shaped face. So that makes me want to continue not to eat the eat the ice cream. But anyway, well, of course, this is a Church of Six production. Man, I appreciate y'all. I get encouragement from places I don't anticipate all the time. And processing through these things in a public forum like this, like putting this out there, it's scary, man. But it's healing for me, and I hope it is for you. I appreciate it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and I know that I've called out my guy Good before, but just the way that he takes care of my own kids, it's really good stuff. And there's teachers all across our building, all across the country, that are really doing good work. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype about public educators. Don't believe the hype of us trying to brainwash your kid. As the memes say, if we could brainwash your kid, they'd bring their pencil to school. But we're fighting the good fight, man. So shout out to all the teachers out there. Mr. Good, Miss Good, holla.